After a family is forced to relocate for their son's health, they begin experiencing supernatural behavior in their new home and uncover a sinister history. This week's movie is The Haunting in Connecticut.
Hello?
God. Oh my God.
Oh my god.
This week, we watched a hot pile of dog shit called
That's it. That's all that was on the screen for an hour and a half.
The Haunting in Connecticut.
Yes, we did do The Haunting in Connecticut. Came out in 2009. It was directed by Peter Cornwell. I didn't really look at his other movies.
That was a flop,
like
honey.
this.
Peter, honey.
Peter?
That was a flop.
Honey.
Okay.
Starring Virginia Madsen, who people may know from Candyman.
She was hard up for money.
Seriously, yeah, okay, we'll get into it. Martin Donovan, Kyle Gallner, who we all know as usually the cute goth boy in like Jennifer's Body, and he was recently in Smile. He's super handsome now. He's always been cute.
Yeah.
Probably the best actor in this movie. And Elias Cotes as
Cotius.
well.
Oh, Elias Cotius. Oh, yeah.
The main ones here. So I wanted to throw out a disclaimer here that this movie is based
Loosely
based, and I'm using air quotes here, on a true story.
On another, air quotes, true story.
Based on a true story.
Yes.
So we've kind of decided every once in a while we're going to try to do a horror movie that's based on a true story, just so we can get into the comparisons, we can get into it.
Yeah.
Because some of them do it pretty well, and then some of them are this movie. So, but yeah, we can get into that.
So if you can't tell, I didn't like this. So we decided to do this because I read the book In a Dark Place that was written by Ed and Lorraine Warren with Ray Garton, who is kind of their ghostwriter. He would, ghostwriter. He would
Jesus
write,
Christ.
He would basically put, their case files into novel form, and it's written as a novel. So I read this. I was like, actually, it's pretty it's scary, and like it's a really interesting story. And then I was like, well, maybe I should watch the movie based on this interesting, scary story. And then I did, and it's my first red flag should have been the papyrus font.
Oh yeah,
that was in the credits. That's a huge red flag.
we all know if it's any indication that if papyrus is being used, it's going to be a fun time.
Yeah. I mean, any Comic Sans would have been more appropriate, I think.
One thing I would like to start with is it is a Lionsgate movie. Now, the only reason I bring this up is because around this time period, between like the mid to late 2000s, even the early 2000s to late 2000s, Lionsgate was, I guess you could say, the Blumhouse of that period of time. Because, I mean, no matter what the horror movie was, they were signed on to it no matter what, and they were kind of cranking out a lot of not good shit. Blumhouse has since had a few good ones, but they're also ones that like, it's a little bit of horror, sign off on it. It's like, even though most of them are shit. Lionsgate has since gotten better with what they decide to make, to be honest. But I wanted to bring that up because almost every horror movie back then was if I saw Lionsgate on the screen when I was younger, it was okay. This is gonna be a terrible movie. But yeah, wanted to throw that out there because it's the main studio.
Throughout this, I will get into how it goes off the fucking rails from the book, honestly. Like, it has nothing to do with the book at a certain point.
Yeah, you were saying.
And then, also, like, comparing that to, like, the actual story. It's weird because, like, you'll read, like, what the actual story was, which is different from... It's different from, like, the book here. And that's also different, obviously, from the movie. Now, the book... No, I mean, the book was written by this ghostwriter who has since disavowed the book, saying it's a work of fiction. He said that he was interviewing the family, the Schnedekers. They were called the Schnedekers. There's Al and Carmen Schnedeker.
Those are some names,
right? Right. Although it's funny because on the book it says Carmen Reed and Al Schnedeker, so they obviously got divorced after this too.
Oh yeah. Which, based on your description of the couple,
the whole family, special family. He said he was interviewing this family, and the stories were wildly varied. He's like Ed, like these stories are so Ed Warren. Yeah, he said Ed, these stories are like nobody's stories match up. They keep changing them. He's like, there's something wrong here. And supposedly, Ed Warren said, well, just make it scary. Make up whatever you want. And he's like, make up whatever you want. Just make it scary. And, that's one of the... he said these people are crazy. Yeah, make up whatever you want. Like, I feel like Ed Warren knew that these people were making up this story.
Yeah.
But yet still wanted to use it for financial gain.
Oh my god!
Which, as we've spoken before about Ed and Lorraine Warren, and I've seen Lorraine Warren on things, and I really feel like she wants to help people, and I feel like she is sensitive. Ed, on the other hand, I don't know. He seems like a shyster to me.
Well, the thing is, I know Ed was never, or I don't think ever claimed to be sensitive.
No, he did. He said he used to have a lot of experiences growing up.
Oh, like paranormal experiences.
Yes. He didn't say he was a medium, though, by any means, or anything like that.
So his thing is, I've wanted to help out because I've had experiences myself.
He just wanted to help people. Yeah.
Well, because, we've seen articles and stuff, and even back when they were prominent, around when, like, The Conjuring would have taken place and all that. I think they had TV interviews where people were questioning them, and, like, hardcore skeptics were, like, going after them and stuff, and... The thing is like, I believe, she was sensitive, but the thing is even if she wasn't, the vibe you get from Lorraine Warren is that she just liked to help people.
Oh, totally. She seems like a nice lady. Like, every time I see her, she just seems like a nice woman.
Well, and we've talked about it, and it's like, I don't think they were trying to take people for a ride most of the time, because, like, they didn't charge for their...
They did not charge for their investigations.
They didn't charge for their investigations. They like, made, stuff off the rights of books and everything else, but it's like, you still have to make a little bit of money doing what you're doing.
Yeah, they made money off of their TV appearances, books, lectures, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I think that's normal.
Which they didn't make an enormous amount of money from it, and they were, like, probably the highest paid, medium/paranormal investigators at the time, but that's not saying much.
So... Yeah, and it didn't seem like they were, like, pushing or prodding people to, like, force anguish out of them, or, like, force them into uncomfortable situations to make money off of them.
No, I don't think so.
Like, people kind of willingly shared their stories with them. I doubt they would have forced them to do that.
I don't think so. Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, now, like, she's... what is the show?
Paranormal State,
which is a very cheesy ghost hunting show.
It is. But please watch it, and please look up the host, Ryan Buell. It's a whole roller coaster ride of
drug addiction, coming out of the closet.
So much. It is a deep, heavy book, and you should look into it. We can't even get into it right now. But Lorraine Warren was on that show a lot.
Yes, because you had me. It was like, well, Chip Coffey, who's hilarious.
I do love that.
He seemed like a really nice person too. But you had Lorraine Warren too, and it just seemed like she just wanted to help people.
I love her. She walks in and she's like, "Oh, honey, there's some bad things here, honey." Like, she just says honey constantly. It's adorable. And she says it in the book too, which is great.
She just always seemed like a person to help people. Same with Ed. They just seemed like people who wanted to help people, and you know, they might portray them as like overly whatever in the movies and overly nice and overly whatever, but like I feel like they were just kind of like that.
Yeah. Although there is something funny in here. I'll talk. Well, during the height of activity in the house, when they had their investigators there that stayed the night, you know, and all that.
Yeah.
They it's just funny because they're like, peace out at the end of the night and leave everyone there, and then they come back in the morning and they're like, oh, looks like you had a rough night. We were at our house. We slept really well.
That's fantastic.
It's kind of funny.
I mean, that's the thing too, is they also had a daughter. Like
they did.
Yeah.
Well, they're
God, imagine growing up in that house.
Oh, I know, right?
Next to that occult museum.
It's insane. Their nephew actually helped with investigations, and the priest role in this movie was supposed to be their nephew. It was supposed to be John, I forget their nephew's name, John Zaffis, who is their nephew.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was supposed to be that person, but all of that aside, this movie has nothing to do with Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Oh my God.
They're not even in it.
They're not even talked about it.
They're not talked about. It has nothing to do with
I
them.
honestly didn't know until we were watching this, because I had seen this movie. It's been over a decade
Yeah.
since I've seen this movie. I had no idea they were even involved in the story until you started reading this book and telling me about it.
Yeah.
Because I had seen The Haunting in Connecticut. I think I even saw it in theaters
Mm.
when I was younger, because I think I would have been around 2009. It was like a sophomore. I don't know. So I'm pretty sure I saw it in theaters at some point, but yeah, there's no mention of them anywhere near the story or anything.
No.
So it's like, I had no idea.
I highly recommend the book, though. I really do. It was, the differences are quite stark, and they're kind of disturbing, because, yeah, what they take, we'll get into it. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
All right.
So yeah, Haunting in Connecticut. Here we go.
In Connecticut. I love at the beginning where she says, bad things happen to good people. And these people in the book were not good people. And the parents were not good people. And the boy, who in this movie is like a teen, I suppose, going through cancer treatment. He's supposed to be about 12 or 13 in the book.
Yeah,
but he's definitely like...
Pretty sure he was like 17, 18.
Yeah, he's much older in this. But that is, like... The premise of both is the kid has cancer and they have to move closer to the hospital instead of driving like 2 hours each way or something, And so they rent this little house in Connecticut, which is by the hospital. And the dad stays on at the old house and works during the week and then visits on the weekends, basically, or in the evenings sometimes. Yeah, during the week. So...
I just, right off the bat, very 2000s editing.
Yeah.
With the fast cuts, flashes, even just in the beginning when they're showing the pictures of dead people.
Mm-hmm.
And, the funeral pictures and the death photos.
Yeah.
And then
which were real funeral. Some of those were real pictures.
Some of them were real.
They were real.
I feel like
you know how they used to take photos with their dead relatives on the couch or whatever. Yeah.
Sitting in between us,
Yeah.
God, it was the editing, and then the writing was just so robotic. Same with the acting.
Writing was terrible. They also had that, which I kept bringing up, was the walls, the house looked like fake distressed, like that very specific early to mid 2000s, it looks like it's Silent Hill or something. It just looks fake,
paint's gonna start peeling,
sort of like stains on walls, and I'm like, why?
But the whole time, it's like
the house looks perfectly normal on the outside.
Yeah, it's like it looked perfectly normal on the outside, but also the whole time, nobody ever even tried to clean it.
No. Well, she tried to mop.
We see her mopping once.
Which is from the book, but where she mops and there's blood. Basically, everything that happens to the kid in this book...
is supposed to have
in this movie was... Sorry, everything that happens to the kid in this movie happened to the mom. Because the kid was, 12 years old.
Yeah.
So they couldn't base like the movie around, although they should have. They really should have.
They should have.
Because the kids, it all happened like he walked in. The first time they move into the house, and he's like, "There's something evil here, Mom." That's the beginning of the book.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Okay, whatever." Yeah. But
shut the fuck up.
Yeah. And they made him. His room was in the basement. That he didn't choose the room in the basement. They gave him the room in the basement. And he refused to sleep there. He slept in the living room.
Well, yeah, because you told me that the parents were actually pretty abusive.
They were not. The dad especially. I mean, they kind of got into that in this, but it was just like a snap. Like, oh, now he had 2 beers. Now he's a monster. You know, like, it was just so stupid.
Well, it's just one of those like instead of because in the movie it's like the kid's like I'm being kind of courteous. The basement's got its own separate bathroom. Nobody has to hear me throw up from my cancer.
I know, right?
And it sounds like in the book it was like, yeah, we don't want to deal with your cancer. You're sleeping in the basement.
Well, it was that, and it was like, well, they thought it would be nice because he had this whole space to himself, but then he kept hearing someone, whenever he was upstairs and the lights were off down there, he would hear someone. In this book, his name is Stephen. His actual name, the kid, was Philip, but in the book, it's Stephen. What is it in the movie? Matt or something?
Matt.
Yeah, Matt. Okay. So 3 different names. But someone would be calling from the basement, like, Stephen. Just like saying, Stephen, come in here. Come to the basement. Stephen. Like, he would just keep hearing that. And they're like, I need to show you something, Stephen.
See, that's already scarier.
It's so much creepier. Than anything in this fucking movie.
Calling your name and asking you to go to the basement. That's a lot creepier
right?
than
and in a normal voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
but not a voice you know.
Creepy,
just
like,
saying like
Stephen, come to the basement.
Stephen, come to the basement. Stephen, and then it starts getting a little angrier. Like Stephen, come to the basement.
Like because he's not doing it, so it's getting pissed.
Exactly. So it's starting to get
That's
pissed.
already creepier.
It's so much creepier. And then, he's telling his parents this, and his dad doesn't want to fucking hear it. He's, like, drunk all the time, and he's, like...
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, he ends up being, like, super, like, you didn't hear shit. You didn't hear anything. Like, yelling at him, and, like... and like, because he's, like, scaring the other kids. He's like, you're fucking scaring the other kids. You didn't hear anything. And it's just because your mom told you about this house or whatever. And, like, of course... By the way... I have way too much on this. The landlord... in this movie just says like, oh, it's got a history, and that's it.
Landlord's like super nice guy.
Super nice.
Yeah, I'll give you a deal if I don't have to keep hammering in this.
That is not
for sale side.
The landlord was.
The house is a little bit of a history.
The landlord told them immediately
that it was a funeral.
It was a funeral home. Everything was still in there.
The equipment's in the basement.
He's like, all the equipment's still in there. He's like, you should keep it because it's like it's almost like a museum. Like and then he was like.
Jesus.
Well, at first they wanted the apartment above because that was finished.
Oh, yeah, so that was another change. Was in the movie, it's a whole house.
It's a whole huge house that had 2 separate apartments, one upstairs.
So in reality, it was 2 separate apartments.
Yeah,
that it was a huge house made into 2 separate apartments.
Yeah, upstairs and then like the first floor and basement was a separate apartment, and then the upstairs and attic or something was the other apartment.
So it was like almost duplexy.
Yeah, it was like a duplex.
Yeah,
and there were no neighbors upstairs at the beginning. Because he was just the upstairs was like almost finished. The downstairs was completely unfinished, and that's why he gave them a deal. He was like, "You can move into this completely just fucked up, like while we're still like punching holes in walls and like drilling and like."
Oh my god!
And there was sawdust everywhere, which aggravated the boy's cancer more because he had throat cancer.
Yeah.
And
Jesus.
Yeah, it was like a horrible situation for them. So they got really duped because the landlord didn't tell them really what state the house was in, just that it was a funeral home.
They got duped at the duplex.
They got duped at the duplex, which of course brings about the theory that they made all this up to
get out of it.
Yeah. And seeing as they later had neighbors upstairs while exorcisms were going on and people were screaming bloody murder, and they didn't hear any of this. The upstairs neighbors said, no, none of that happened. The neighbors all around say none of that happened.
Nothing was going on.
So. But yeah, they saw all that equipment right away. They knew from the beginning. So.
So in this they didn't. There was that. I mean, you have the mom and the son coming back from a cancer treatment. The son's in pain. Mm-hmm. And they had already met the landlord, and they were like, she's like, screw it. So she turns around, and they just stay at the house. And she's like, I'm just going to buy it now and just stay here because I can't drive anymore with this kid in pain. Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of like, because she was just tired of like looking, and she was like, fuck it, I'll just go to this house that I was creeped out about.
Which like brings me to the first trope. I will be bringing up the tropes in this movie.
So many.
Which is I switch off the TV and there's somebody standing in the back behind the TV screen.
It was like every trope just crammed into a movie.
Oh my god. I'm sorry. It's the TV. It's the jump scares. I wrote jump scares 3 or 4 times.
Bad jump scares.
And I know the mid to late 2000s was just the era of jump scares. Yeah, because it really was so many. That was true. Like so many horror movies relied on jump scares, which is a certain period of time when that's all anybody relied on was jump scares. Yeah, yeah. And then it wasn't until we started getting directors like James Wan, who did The Conjuring, and
a good adaptation.
Yeah, a good adaptation of a Warren story.
Yeah.
Where people started going kind of back to the build-up, anticipation, suspense, anxiety, like things like that, instead of just relying on jump scares. Because I'm not saying The Conjuring is without its jump scares. It obviously has a few.
It has a few.
You throw some in there, but not... like you have those moments like the girl seeing something behind the door. Nothing jumps out, but that entire scene is tension because you're trying to see if there's something behind the door, but you can't see it.
Exactly.
It's tension. It's build-up. It's that.
Exactly.
It's not, and like getting stuck in that feeling because there's no jump scare to release it.
Exactly.
And this time period, it was all just jump scare, jump scare, jump scare, jump scare. Or I can see you in the reflection. Or the other thing this movie did forever was there's a figure in the shadows in the dark until I turn the light on every 2 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
I look up, there's a figure in the shadow at the foot of my bed, I turn the lights on, it's gone. Mm-hmm. Oh, I looked in the mirror and there's a figure in the shadow and then I flip the light on, it's gone. It was just like, okay, is that the only scare you know how to do?
I know.
Because I can tell you right now, in the true story, you're probably not just seeing things in shadows. You're probably also, like you said, hearing voices.
I honestly, here's the thing, man. I really wish that someone would redo this story
and do it correctly
as a psychological thriller horror movie, because it would be amazing.
Just let James Wan do it. He obviously knows how to adapt the Warren shit.
Seriously, because I'm gonna get into more of it. And the real story is fucked. I mean, it is really fucked
It's
up.
fucked. Like, from what you told me, it's fucked up.
It is so fucked up with actual fucked up things like that happened. Like that really were real.
Yeah. Another trope is like every horror movie. Yeah. I think even including the new Nosferatu. If you ever hear that fucking prayer,
the Lord's Prayer.
No, if I should die before I wake, pray the Lord. First of all, creepiest fucking prayer to have little kids say before they go to sleep.
That's why, because it's creepy. That's why they put it.
Oh yeah, and I think it was a prayer they used to use maybe around when the Black Plague was a thing because people dying.
People used to die over everything until like 1920, so
it's not wrong. I mean, God, you got a splinter and you could fucking but every movie, but it's that one. There was another prayer, and it was.
She did say the Lord's Prayer.
She did at some point.
Lord is my shepherd. You know.
No, she did the Lord is my shepherd one.
Yeah, she did that
towards the end of the movie, which is another stereotypical prayer.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like a basic Catholic prayer, though.
Oh yeah.
That
and then before that, there was another one, and I was like, "Can we?" I leave a row. I was like, "Can we stop? Can we stop doing the prayers?" One, it's not working, obviously, and two, you're using every stereotypical Catholic prayer. I think you just literally went down the list just to go down the list.
And they made her like a lapsed Catholic when, in actuality, she was a pretty devout Catholic.
Sounds about right for a couple of abusive parents, one being a drunk, that they're also devout Catholics because they think. I like just the hypocrisy of that alone.
Well, especially also because, like, you know, being Catholic, like they didn't want their kids talking about ghosts and stuff, you know. Exactly. So
Dad's gonna beat you, but if you mention a ghost, that's against our religion. He's gonna beat you more. Like, Jesus Christ.
But it's funny because they...
Oh, it was the Valley Prayer, the stupid...
the Shadow of Death one.
I shall fear no evil. He's like, you know what you do in the valley? You fear no evil.
I'm like, no evil.
Just because you say it a different way does not mean you didn't use this shit.
So stupid.
It made me so mad. Like, you literally just went down the list of every Catholic prayer ever used in a horror movie.
Yeah.
We're like, just say it.
Yeah, basically, I mean, it's just, they really, they were abusive, but they were only to this kid that had fucking cancer. Like, their kid that had cancer was, like, they really, like, they didn't believe a word he said to them. Like, he kept, like full of fear coming to them screaming, and they're like, you didn't say anything! Go back down there! You didn't see shit! Like, just being horrible, horrible people. Not listening to their kid at all.
Basically, the son's a burden because he has cancer.
And then the little girl, his sister, says something, that she sees something, and then they blame him for it. And just like it's just this kid is like a whipping.
It's because you keep talking about it, so she saw something.
So it's not surprising what ends up happening to this kid. Yeah. But anyway.
God.
But the cheesy sound effects too. I hated it. It was just all so like. It was so cheesy.
It's the filter they put on the movie every once in a while. Especially the filter whenever going in the past. It was like almost sepia tone, but not quite. Mm-hmm.
That's how you know it's the past.
That's how you know it's the past, because everything looks
it was
brown.
Sepia tone.
I don't know. I mean, it's early 2000s editing. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, movies like 13 Ghosts. I mean, that movie was a huge stereotypical 2000s editing movie.
I haven't seen it, but I do know how the editing is.
Oh my god, flashing, cut, flashing. It's too much. Like, if anybody has epilepsy, do not watch this movie.
It is too much because it's not scary to me. Like, it's funny because I'm not scared.
It makes it too aggro.
It's annoying.
It makes it way too aggro.
Yeah.
It's like you're ruining any sort of suspense by how fast you're cutting the shit.
Exactly.
And speaking of cuts for this movie, there was no build up to shit.
There was zero build up.
No, there was no build up to, because eventually they find out it's a medium. Who was
none of this was in the book.
None of this. So the backstory that's in the movie about a medium and a guy who was cutting off dead bodies' eyelids.
Well, he was trying to do what is the word? Necromancy. He was trying to like bring the dead back to life and all this, and none of that is in the fucking book. But
no, but like they find out about this medium, and it's like I just think. Fuck, I forgot what I was going to say now. We can keep this in, it's fine. But yeah, I mean, they find out about the medium, and I just think his story would have been more interesting, one, for a separate movie. But also, there was no build-up to him finding out that he was a medium. There was no build-up to them.
No.
Like, it was just a random moment where she was like, we should look up the history of the house. There's got to be something.
Yeah.
And it's like, there was no build up to that. There was no like sprinklings of the past story in there that like made you want to lead up into that. None of that.
It's just a lot of like info dumping. It's like here's some new information.
Here.
Yeah, just
here's some
scrapping it out. Like it was really not.
No build up, here's some new information. I'm just like, you gave us no, because like, to be honest, if you did the story right, we probably actually would have given him more of a shit about the medium, because it sounded like he was trapped in a shitty situation with a guy trying to make money off of him.
Yeah.
To fund his whatever.
To fund my necromancy.
Which is funny that they are doing necromancy in the movie, because wasn't it necrophilia in real life?
So, according to Lorraine Warren and what she saw when she was in there, what she saw in the past, like what she saw there.
Yeah.
Not physically, but in her mind's eye, what she saw there.
Yes.
Was that the person that owned the funeral home was having sex with the dead bodies.
As one would.
There was no necromantic satanic ritual with carving people and there was none of that. It was just she said that like the ghosts and the spirits and the demon came because there was someone having sex with dead bodies, which she's like, that creates negative energy. Obviously.
As it would.
As it would.
As it should.
But And you know the spirits, like when it starts getting really crazy, and everyone starts hearing the spirits that are in the house, they're saying, because the demon is making these spirits say these things to the people, say like, oh, I loved it when he fucked me, I loved it when he touched my titties, like just like nasty, you know, like it's
that is so much. Oh,
it's
man.
crazy. And then the ghost, well, the demon, like actually like rapes the girl in this, and then tries to rape the mom.
Wasn't the mom watching while the daughter?
They were in the same room.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like he locked the door so she couldn't get out, and she had to just watch and like scream and like. I mean, honestly, like if they had have made this movie like the book, it would have been real fucked up, but it would have been like actually tense, actually scary.
Yeah, but I was gonna say you could make the movie like the story, in the sense of like you're showing a highly abusive family, a kid with cancer, which there's more to it than that, which I think you're gonna get into.
I will get into the rest of it with the kid,
but like you could have had this, and then you could have made the audience question whether what they're seeing is real or not, because nobody really knows, because everybody outside of them was like, none of this was going on. You could have made them question it, and it's like, yeah, it's a fucked up story, but like that already is more creepy, scary, and also tells a story of what it's like to be in an abusive family.
Yep.
Just all there. You have the makings of a good story, and it's like, I don't know why you had to change it to like, this family loves each other, even though really in the movie I felt like none of the family members were connected to each other, because there was
nothing
character development or build up within the family to even the it just felt like they were just random people living together.
They were oh, you know what makes it worse with the parents is at a certain point they were seeing and hearing things as well, and they were still yelling at the kid saying he doesn't see anything. He's all making all of it up.
Fantastic.
Even though they were fucking seeing it and hearing it too.
It's because they just didn't want him to be right.
Yep. Oh, it was awful. Like, I mean, it's just they were really not good people, and they seem very sympathetic in the movie, obviously. Even the dad, who is
minus the night he randomly got
the
drunk
one
and
night
stole the light bulbs.
Oh, he did steal the light bulbs though
in the basement.
Because the kid, I'm gonna say Steven because that's the name in the book, even though his name was actually Philip, but Steven.
Matt. Just kidding.
Matt.
Kevin
in the movie. Kevin. He was afraid to sleep down there, so he would leave the lights on, and the dad thought that the high electricity bill was because of that, so he like took all the lights out, like in a drunken, like threw them on the ground and whatever.
Couldn't have been because the wiring was old as hell, and
of course not. And then evidently, according to the family, the lights in the basement were on again
with no light bulbs.
And the dad was like, "Why'd you put the dad obviously saw that there was no light bulb there, and he said, "Why did you put the light bulbs back in?" Like he was screaming at the kid again. It's just
see, but that's more interesting.
It's more interesting because there's a psychological component. There's something, this dad is blocking things, and you know what I mean. I don't know. There's something much better there, but hey. Because just the kids were seeing things at first, but yeah.
Because the movie, I don't know. You start out with what seems like a normal haunting thing, and then does everything have to go demonic?
I mean, the book is does. Straight up demonic.
I know the book does, but it's just everything just seems to go demonic.
Well, they had the poltergeist activity, like the furniture pile up thing, which does not happen in the book either. And the clawing at the kid clawing at the wall or whatever,
which they don't even show. That could have been even more of a creepy scene if they would have shown him doing it, and then they don't even wonder why he was clawing at the wall. They never question it.
They don't question it.
And the claw marks are just there the whole movie.
Yeah.
Because at the end they're still there when he starts taking an axe to the walls, and it's you're just never going to question why your son was clawing at the walls. It's just the cancer.
Yeah. And he keeps saying that he's going to die soon in the movie, but in the book he says, "My new friends won't let me die. Don't worry, Mom."
That's creepy.
Isn't that fucking creepy?
That's fucking creepier.
And the mom was like, "You mean you're the ghosts?" And he was like, "Yeah." And then she gets mad at him because he's talking about the fucking ghosts.
And then she beats him.
Exactly.
And then like obviously like most of these movies, especially back in this time period. I mean, The Conjuring did it too. When you like overly exaggerate the look of something. I mean, we all know the original Annabelle was a Raggedy Ann, 70s Raggedy Ann doll.
Exactly.
And they made it a creepy doll in the movie.
Which is the problem I have in the movie, which we talked about. But.
In this, it's just like cutting off eyelids and then scratching like all these words into the people's bodies, and they're like overly exaggerating.
This is my favorite, which the cutting off eyelids leads me to my favorite thing in this movie, where the priest says...
Oh, God. I hated this so much.
He says, he removed the eyelids not to make them see, but to make them unseen. Like, what
does that mean?
What does that mean?
What the fuck does that mean? You're taking off their eyelids, that means they can see.
What does that mean?
Make them unseen? Wouldn't you sew their eyes shut if you wanted that to happen?
It's like he's just pulling shit out of his ass, the writer.
It just makes no sense.
What?
You're opening their eyes. That doesn't make any sense. If you were to sew them shut and maybe sew their mouths shut so that they are quiet and can't speak, and then the ghost could be trying to warn them about stuff, but they can't speak or see because of the thing.
That would make sense.
Even the ghost of the medium, they pulled it out of their ass that he was there to try to help them. Whenever they literally don't show him doing that as a ghost the entire time.
Said, he's just standing around. Trying to help us. I'm like, when?
When? He's standing around. He's not doing anything. He's not doing shit.
Oh my God. My notes at this point get very angry. And then I wrote like, necromancy?
Oh my God.
Necromancy?
Also, that leads me on my notes to another trope, which is the dumbwaiter.
Yeah, that was
dumb. The Sixth Sense did it the best. Just leave it alone. Just leave the dumbwaiter thing alone. We all know the Sixth Sense did it the best when he got trapped in it. Because guess what? It doesn't even show a ghost. All you can hear in the Sixth Sense is another voice in there with him, and it's terrifying. So creepy. That scene is so creepy. Have you seen that?
I have.
So creepy.
Oh, here's the deal with the Sixth Sense.
Oh God. Listen, we all know the twist.
No, I watched it with my ex, and we started it pretty much. It was like maybe 15 minutes in, 20 at the most.
And you were like...
And I said, oh, the kid's dead.
Or Bruce Willis.
Yeah. I was, or whatever. I was like, oh, he's dead. Like, I was just like, that. It's obvious.
Which, like, it sucks because, like, even without the twist, it's a good movie.
It was a good movie.
It's a good movie.
Yeah.
Toni Collette's amazing in it. I mean, we're going off topic, but anyway,
we're trying to talk about a good movie.
That's how you do a dumbwaiter scene. Leave it at that. I'm so sick of movies that use a dumbwaiter as like a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy.
I started talking about the priest at this point because like that character was stupid. I didn't understand it.
Yeah.
It was a priest who was like it just happened to be getting treatment next to the kid in the hospital.
And he's like, here's my card.
And he says, here's my card, and it just says like priest on it or something.
Or literally says like father something or whatever his name, and then priest.
Stupid. And then he gives his card to the mom later. It's just, what is this?
She's kicking him out of the house. She's like, get the fuck out of my house. She's like, here's my card.
Here's my card.
I can't. This is such a funny image to me. But because before that, I wanted to bring this up too, because before that, they are somehow inclined to go look up the history of the house, even though there was no build up to why.
Yeah.
And the cousin does that very fast.
Yeah.
I mean, she found out every tiny detail of that home in the matter of probably an hour.
Yeah, and like the
blueprints,
the personal life of the people,
the newspaper articles,
stupid.
Everything within what felt like an hour.
She got like a microfiche, like
she just stole it from the library.
Click, 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 click.
She's like, if you look here, and I'm just like, what the fuck? This would take at least a couple days. I mean, I don't understand. She literally found out so much information, and I'm like, how do you know that? The library hasn't lost some of this information,
right?
Or like at least maybe some of it was missing. Like, I don't know. Like, it's just insane to me that. Because it wasn't just like, oh, we got pieces of details and we can put it together kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was, I have every detail. I could tell you what the old doctor who owned the house ate for breakfast on the 19th of June, 1945. Yeah. I don't understand. It was so much all in one.
Before we start getting into like when everything, all hell breaks loose part of the movie, you know what I mean?
Yeah, without any build-up.
Without any build-up whatsoever. So in the true, I'm making air quotes, true story.
For you listeners, air quotes.
True story. So the kid starts like changing. Like at some point, he's down in the basement. The demon is always like, Steven, right? Is it time now, Steven? Like it would be like Steven, like basically saying like, do you want to talk to me now? Like, is it time now? Do you want to talk to me now? And then finally, he just gives in because he's so depressed and upset, and he says, yes. And then the demon enters him. And the kid starts changing slowly, and like being like, he'll just stand there and like stare at people, and then like start laughing like down in his. He'll just start like laughing like like downstairs, Jesus. And then like he. Like he's talking to someone and just laughing, and then like he's really mean to like one of the kids, and then he just laughs at them, and like it just his personality changes.
I love hearing this true story, but I also hate it at the same time because I'm picturing the movie that could have been.
Right? Exactly. But so it all culminates in the fact that the kid the demon tells him to go into. He has 2 cousins that are staying with them, like just for like a few months or whatever. He goes into their room. One of them's older, and he like starts touching her breast or something. And then the demon says, no, touch the little one, like the younger ones, like, and he's like, touch all of her, and like
Jesus Christ.
And he rapes his younger cousin, who's like 5 or something. Yeah. It's incredibly fucked up.
Fantastic. Jesus.
He gets taken away by they call the police. He gets taken away, and then he goes into psychiatric care, along with his cancer treatment.
As one should.
Yeah, as one should. As one should. And he does go into remission, but like the remainder of these events that happen in this house, the boy is in psychiatric care. So he is not a part
He's not there.
He's not there through the rest of these events at all. He comes back after it's all done, and no, he doesn't. He says, I'm not going to come back unless you leave that house. Because he was the one that saw the evil in it to begin with or something,
You wouldn't fucking listen to me.
Yeah, he was like, you wouldn't listen to me. I'm not going back to the house.
Yeah.
Mind you, like, how much... Oh, and he's diagnosed with schizophrenia as well.
Which,
he's in psychiatric care. Yeah. So it kind of explains a few things if he was schizophrenic
like
as
possible hallucinations and things
that might explain some things, but the family continues to have worse and worse things happen, evidently. This is where, like, who knows if it actually happened, but this is where her neighbor had given her, when she kept talking to her neighbor about like what's going on in the house, her neighbor gives her a magazine that had Ed and Lorraine Warren in it, and she's like, I think you should contact these people. And she was like, okay, whatever, and she threw it down for a long time, and then finally, she calls them. They send their team into the house that stays the night, kind of like in The Conjuring. There's like a team of like researchers that stay there.
They have people that they work with.
Yeah, the people they work with, one of which is her
nephew.
Yeah. So they get priests to bless the house. The activity gets worse. The demon rapes one of the girls and the mom, and like is constantly trying to touch them, and then it tries to like, then it grabs the dad's dick too.
As a demon would.
As a demon probably would. I don't think the demon would be discriminate about
what's going on.
Yeah, what's Demons going on. Yeah, they don't care. They like all of it. They like the pole and the hole.
All right. I was waiting for it. Just a little bit.
Anyway. It's insane. Like and they keep getting attacked all night, psychological attacks by the demon all night and all this, and like seeing things, and there's all this like screaming and crazy shit happening in the house. And then it's funny that the upstairs neighbors that were there by this time didn't hear any of this.
We're like, no.
Like, none of that happened.
Pretty sure we would have heard it.
Mm-hmm.
This old house's walls aren't that thick.
And they said that the floor vibrated under their bed, the parents, every night. And the floor would vibrate, and they would hear like old-timey music coming from down there, something like a radio. And
like in the basement.
Yeah, in the basement.
Jesus.
But the thing is, directly under their bed was the hoist, like with the chains that they would like, and so that's what they was making the bed vibrate every night, and they'd hear like the chains like being pulled up or whatever.
Jesus.
Crazy shit. But I mean, if true, crazy.
See, yeah. But see, again, scarier than this movie.
That would have been so much scarier. And then like the blood drain and everything, because it was all about that too, and like
the family would have at least had a dynamic.
Yeah, I swear to God. And then, but in the movie, when all hell breaks loose, they pack way too much shit in. Oh. There's birds flying all around.
Okay, I was going to ask about that.
Doors slamming. There's lights flashing.
What is with the birds? Was that even in the movie? Was that even in the book?
Makes no sense. I don't understand it.
I know you have bird wallpaper, but is that really like... Is that what you're using as a catalyst for
evidently,
this?
Yeah.
Is the writer that lazy?
Because it made no... Well, yeah, because they were just trying to put as many horror like tropes from that time.
How do we do a paranormal thing in this girl's room? Well, she's got bird wallpaper. What if we just do birds?
Yeah.
Shadows of birds everywhere. I don't understand how I've never made a movie and there's movies out there that are this bad.
I know, right? It's amazing.
But
the kid wasn't even possessed in this.
I don't even know. I mean, like that build up though, that like birds flying, doors slamming. There was no build up to it. It literally was instant. This guy's like, I gotta get his bones out of the house, the priest, and then it just immediately hit the fan after he said that. And I'm like, what? And then like it's getting closer to him, and then he gets the bones out of the house, and then he just disappears. And I'm like, you could if it was supposed to be a warning as to removing him from the property, it could have been a better warning written into that than just slamming doors and having bird shadows. I don't understand.
Virginia Madsen, were you this hard up?
Seriously, okay, I needed to bring her up
to make this movie.
Like, I needed to bring her up too.
Was this after Candyman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Candyman was 92.
Yeah.
Candyman came out the year I was born.
Okay. Yeah.
And she is so good in that movie.
Oh, she's amazing in it.
And expressive and whatever. In this movie, robot. I know she got work done, but it's like it affected her face and her emotions so bad that I was like, "Are you acting? Because this is not acting." Like,
no. I mean, she was better than some, but she was not that good.
No, to me, the best actor in this movie is the son.
Yeah.
Because at least from him, I was getting emotions. I was getting pain from the cancer. I was getting the things he was needed to do. Mm-hmm. From the other people, it was like, why are you here? Especially the dad. The dad, apparently prominent in the book, was nowhere in the movie.
Yeah, he really wasn't in it.
Wasn't anywhere.
I think they were really, like, stressing the fact that he was living in another city and driving. But, like, they didn't even say that he drove over there much, so...
They didn't even stress that, though. There was, like, no stress to that.
No, I think if you hadn't read the book, you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Because it was hard to really
He only mentions once in the thing, like, I'm going to stay in the apartment because I have to work and I have to be on the job site. He only says that, like, once.
Yeah.
And then randomly it cuts to him when they're doing some sad moment where the mom's crying over here and the dad's crying over there.
Yeah.
And he's playing guitar. And I was like, where the fuck did this hobby come from? We just threw a guitar thing in there.
It's so weird.
That he now has a love for music. I don't understand.
Yeah.
And he's got a room at... They said renting. And I'm like... Is it a full house or is it an apartment? Because if you're renting, it's like it looked like he had a whole entire room for just his music.
Yeah.
Shit, and I was like, you guys are hard up for money? I don't understand.
Because evidently, evidently they were like super struggling. You know, that's why they
definitely didn't look like they were super struggling.
It didn't.
No. At all.
No.
Like it seemed like they could have left that house at any moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just decided not to.
Yeah, it was really bad setup for sure on that. There was a shining moment in this with the axe that threw the door.
Oh yeah. We love a good Shining.
It was like The Shining if it was written by a 10-year-old. Yeah.
We love a good Shining reference with an axe to a wooden door. We love it.
And then the son taking the axe to the walls.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and...
I just love when we were watching and you're like, here's Matt.
Here's
And now I just keep thinking, and then he backs away and they're like, okay, take two. And he's like, here's Steven. And then he backs away, here's Philip. Just every name possible.
I know. He smashed one wall. Bodies.
He
smashed another wall.
Bodies.
And then he smashed another. I was like, we get it.
But this is the thing.
We get it.
When I first saw this movie, and it was like based on a true story, I was like, okay, you know, maybe they exaggerated. Like when I was in the beginning of watching it, I was like, hey, well, maybe they exaggerated the seance thing. Like maybe they did do seances in the house.
No.
But it wasn't as dramatic. Like maybe this happened, but it wasn't this dramatic. Whatever.
None of it happened.
No, but like.
And there were no bodies in the
wall.
Well,
and that's the thing is when I remember first watching this, and they get to the part where he's opening up the walls and there's bodies falling out, and I was like, based on a true story, like this wouldn't be on the news that a house in Connecticut just had 60 bodies in it.
Right.
And that have not decomposed in 50 years.
Right.
There wouldn't be anywhere on the news about that. Nothing would have been talked about with that, but it was 60 dead bodies.
Yeah.
Nobody reported their loved ones missing, their dead bodies missing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand. Were they all closed caskets and nobody saw the bodies?
So
I'm so confused. Like, because he was apparently hoarding bodies, and apparent family members just never noticed that their family members weren't buried or in their coffins.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, they could have...
It wasn't one or two. It was literally like 30 bodies in the walls.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you...
The crescendo of this movie could have been, you know, kind of like The Conjuring, wherein it stayed fairly faithful to the family's story, but it was just a little heightened, you know?
Yeah.
A little scary. You're like throwing people around, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
you know?
and like showing a creepy Bathsheba when maybe there wasn't one, or like a little more of the mom being possessed when maybe it was just minor things like bruises and things like that, or like a mood swing, a mood switch. Obviously exaggerating the house because it wasn't a 2-story house. Like they exaggerated small things to make it scary.
Yeah.
But even Lorraine Warren said that the first Conjuring was pretty close to what was going on in the house.
Yeah.
She said especially the small stuff, you know, doors slamming and knocking and things falling off the walls and the mom getting bruised, like things like that.
Yeah.
And it was like, obviously that's still scary.
Yeah.
But you can heighten that a little bit for a movie.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
They could have made like the crescendo of this much like, you know, because ended up being like an exorcism on the house, which they don't usually do. But like they did an exorcism on the house because they knew there was a demon in the house.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, I mean, it was like, it wasn't, if they were to film it as it was in here, it was like a lot of stuff that like, you know, it wouldn't have been that crazy, but they could have just made like maybe a couple things flying around, you know,
just
like
exaggerated a little
see
bit.
The demon for a second,
like,
you know, that kind of
you
stuff.
You can add things in to make it scary to suspend the disbelief of whatever.
Yeah.
But this movie, especially based on the true story, went so fucking off the rails.
Yeah.
That it was like, did you even listen to the story?
I know. Did you even read the story? I don't know if they even read it.
Because
or they read it halfway and they're like, you know what? I think I got the gist of it.
I can do this.
I'm gonna make a movie out of it. It's fine.
Very supportive family.
Yeah. Yeah, they sound great.
Bodies in the walls. Very supportive family.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's just so much more you could have done with it. If any directors out there or studios hear this episode, redo this movie.
But
they won't.
I wish they would.
But redo this movie and make it actually good. Because I feel like the actual story has potential.
The story's great.
Has
honestly
very much potential. Even if all of what's in the book is not exactly what happened, because, I mean, all their stories kept changing. Yeah. It's still an interesting story.
It is. It's a very interesting story.
And you can just say it's based. You could just say it's based off the book.
It's actually fucking scary.
Yeah,
too.
And you could just say it's based off the story written in the book.
Yeah.
Whether it's fully true or not, it doesn't matter. Like,
yeah.
It's just like, I don't.
I mean, at the end, you know, the kid was a martyr in the movie, where in reality he was a child rapist with schizophrenia.
I mean,
and cancer at the same time.
Child rapist
must have been horrible
with
honestly.
Schizophrenia and cancer.
Having like emotionally abusive parents, having cancer, being schizophrenic,
and probably not on the meds for schizophrenia.
No, not at all.
Yeah. Hallucinating and seeing ghosts and like possible demons that are messing with you the whole time, and just being told you're an asshole who doesn't see anything, and we don't want to deal with your cancer.
Because he got to the point where he'd just be like so scared, and they'd be like, "Mom," and he'd be like, and then he'd be like, "I'm not supposed to say anything. Never mind." Like it's horrible.
That is so much more of an interesting story.
It's so fucked up and horrible.
That is literally so much more of an interesting story.
Right?
Oh my god. you're making me just think about whatever. This movie just could have been so.
And then, of course, the house burns to the ground, which never happened.
Never happened. The house the real house is still there.
It's still there. And looks the same.
I think the new people that have moved into it haven't had any experiences.
No one since has had any experiences.
I mean, the same is true for like the Amityville Horror House and shit.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
I think it really depends on the people too.
But I'm super interested. See, I like doing this because I'm super interested in the real cases. Like, I want to know.
Oh yeah.
What actually happened. I want to see, like, I did see some, like, pictures and footage, things like that.
I love that shit. Like, even as a kid, when I watched, like, the Amityville Horror for the first time, I was all over that true story.
Yeah.
I wanted to read everything about the true story. I never read the book that the Lutz family wrote, because that the movie is based off of.
Yeah.
I've had friends that have read it.
Well, I guess I'm going to have to read that. I'm going to have to read that.
But, you know, it's supposed to, you know, recall their account in the thing, and the night they fled, that house is actually when Ed and Lorraine Warren were there.
Yeah.
Because she was the only psychic they let into that house.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize that Lorraine Warren was a part of a lot of famous paranormal investigations that have happened over the years.
Yeah.
Amityville Horror being one of them. Mm-hmm. And it's, to me, the reason I want to occasionally do horror movies based on true stories is because getting into it like this is cool. Mm-hmm. I mean, we did The Conjuring. Now we're doing this.
Yeah.
And this one was just terrible.
Absolutely terrible.
So bad. But there are some out there that are based off true stories that are good and that have done it pretty well.
Do you know what I want to point out really quickly?
Yeah.
So when the house was on fire, no firemen showed up.
Oh my God.
One policeman.
It was one police officer and then the family, and I was like, where the fuck is the firefighter?
And the policeman was like, oh no, you can't go in there. And it's like,
are you gonna go in there
about it? Like, there's a kid in there. Like, did you get the fire department?
And then like 20 minutes later, a firefighter shows up, and I'm like, what is happening right now?
that was special.
Also, who even called the police?
Yeah.
Did the cousin? I don't even know.
I don't. Maybe the neighbors.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I will point out to you, because we were talking about true story stuff. This was also around the time when, like, not even just horror movies. It was just like, I mean, I don't know if you remember that time going to movies and you would see trailers for movies, and it literally was every single movie based off a true story, based off a true story, based off a true story.
I don't remember that.
So many.
Really?
And around this time period, there was so many. There was like back to back, regular movies, horror movies, whatever. They was just kind of based off a true story. I mean, even movies like The Strangers, where it's like based off a true story, and it was like, really, it was just literally the director staying at his house in the woods, and he got a knock on the door for some weirdo who was asking about something and then left, and that was it. And then he's like, The Strangers was based off a true story. Oh. And I'm like, are you guys serious?
Obnoxious.
That's so stupid.
No, that was like based off of an anecdote in your life.
Yeah.
That was not based off of a true story.
Person just, like, don't say based off a true story, just say like, oh, I got inspired to write something like this because of this weird interaction I had, not based on a true story.
I mean, that could be anything, because like everyone writes based off of experience, so that could be anything.
Anything. Literally anything. I stubbed my toe.
So stupid.
Or like, I had a hangnail. So the Black Swan is based off a true story. like I don't understand.
Sorry, I'm yawning. There was a band on the soundtrack that I just saw, and it was the name of the band is Cattle Decapitation.
Fantastic.
Cattle Decapitation.
That sounds like a late 2000s band.
Yeah, I love it. I think I'm gonna have to listen to some Cattle
Decapitation. That's so crazy. And then we get to the ending, and the monologue the mom gives, I'm over it. I'm so over it.
Well, I think it was supposed to mirror, even though Ed and Lorraine Warren were not mentioned anywhere in this
at all,
I think it was supposed to mirror the interviews they do with their clients.
Yeah. Well, because at the end of The Conjuring, we get an Ed Warren quote.
Yeah.
And it's a good quote, and it fits with how the ending is.
I don't remember it.
It's something about, God is real, the devil is real.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And something depends on who you elect to follow.
Yeah.
It's something weird, something like that. But it's a good quote for that moment.
Yeah.
This, having Virginia Madsen be like, you never know. God works in mysterious ways. And at the end being like, that's just a warning. And having it end, I was like, okay.
So dumb.
That's a warning? All right.
I think it does say something that I think that this story is just cursed, maybe. Because
yeah,
because even the author like denouncing the book and like, but he wrote all of their books.
Well,
and this is the only one he denounced.
Well, and you told me the reason he denounced it was just because he was going off of different stories from 5 different people.
Yeah.
And it's not that like all of it's fake. It's just that he doesn't know fully what's real and what's not because they were all giving different stories.
And generally, yeah, like the way that their stories kept changing from day to day too. He was like this. He's like, these people aren't telling the truth.
Yeah.
And because he knew like what the patterns are when people aren't telling the truth.
Yeah.
And Ed Warren was like, yeah, they're fucking crazy. Like he said, yeah, they're crazy.
Ed Warren, yeah, I mean Ed Warren being like they're crazy. Just put it together to make a scary book.
Yeah,
whatever.
He was like, just make it scary. I don't care where you put it.
He's like, Lorraine's getting nothing from this shit.
Well, the thing is, Lorraine did get things from this house, and there was something there. She was convinced there was something there, and she kept seeing the dead bodies everywhere, and he kept seeing the guy like touching them and like having sex with them. Like she kept seeing these images in her head, and so she knew something was there. But like the family itself just seemed to be extremely traumatized from their life events.
Yeah,
and that's kind of I think that's really what it comes down to. Is like they had a million things happen to them at once that were like highly traumatizing things
on top of themselves.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
for those who would like to check out the book, it is Ed and Lorraine Warren, In a Dark Place.
In a Dark Place. And it was Ed and Lorraine. It says it's written by Ed and Lorraine Warren, but it isn't.
They had somebody. Yeah,
it's written by Ray Garton.
It's based off their case files and the stories.
Yeah, he writes all of their. There's a few books. Graveyard, Ghost Hunters, The Haunted, Satan's Harvest. And then there's one called Werewolf that is actually supposed to be a werewolf case.
There is,
which I'm interested in.
I think, I don't know what the last Conjuring movie is going to be about, but I heard a rumor that it is supposed to be the werewolf case.
Oh, ooh. Well, I'm going to have to read that then so we can do the last Conjuring movie.
Because the second, like, it was, the Conjuring one is Bathsheba and that whole thing.
Yeah. Which there are a lot of plot holes in that.
Yeah. The Conjuring 2 actually has even more plot holes. It was even more exaggerated because being at the house, Lorraine was like, there's literally nothing here. And they kind of just, they exaggerated the crap out of it. That was the Einfield Poltergeist.
Oh, okay.
The third one was The Devil Made Me Do It.
Oh, okay.
And I can't remember what case file that's fully based off of. And
it might have been.
I swear the last one is supposed to be the werewolf. And I think it's in England because they were already in Einfield. I can't remember.
Interesting. Well, I'm definitely interested in reading the werewolf one because I really want to know what was going on with that. Did Lorraine see a werewolf?
Yeah.
I need to know.
Werewolf on the moors of England.
She's like, oh, honey, there's werewolves here. Oh, honey.
Oh, honey, there be werewolves.
Oh, my God.
Listen, no matter what they say about them, I will always love Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, whether you believe her or not, I always felt like she was a good person. And also whether you believe their stories or not, they're just interesting cases.
They're so interesting.
It just shows you the weirdness
of humanity. If anything, they're wonderful storytellers.
Yeah. It really it shows you the weirdness and just spectrum of humanity on top of the paranormal and everything.
And human psychology, you know, because like sometimes, like especially with this one, because if this was stuff that people just like, it was actual hallucinations from schizophrenia plus people who are at the edge of their rope of like where they're losing their minds in general.
We're losing our minds, our kid has cancer, and then he's diagnosed with schizophrenia, he's having hallucinations, there's sexual abuse happening, there's this happening. It's just like there's so many psychological and negative things happening all at once.
Which is like the shared psychosis thing, you know, with the whole family. But then it might not just be that. It might be like a family so broken down that these negative energies are just being able to take them over.
Yeah.
Know? So there's that too.
I mean, a lot of people... I mean, that goes back to even like, you know, dad being an alcoholic. I mean, there's those people that say like when you're drunk and the reason you feel weird is because there's spirits trying to take you over. Huh. It's because like you're open.
It seems medieval to me.
It's really medieval. It's like weird belief too that like because you're in that state, you're not fully there, so things can come and take over your body.
That is true. You're supposed to be a bit more receptive.
Yeah, it's weird things like that. But it's also shared psychosis and like whether they were actually seeing things or not. If one person's doing it, then the next person sees it, and then now you're convincing the other people that they're seeing it. It just creates a whole situation.
Yeah.
But who knows? So overall, the real story, interesting. The movie, trash.
Trash. Hot trash.
Hot garbage.
Hate it.
Oh my god. I totally forgot how terrible this movie was. And just watching it again, I was like, this, like, did they just get lazy? Like, were they trying to keep the rights to a story so they just threw something together?
Right.
Like, I just don't understand.
And I don't think Ed and Lorraine had anything to do with this one.
No, I feel like if they
even
because the movie came out in 2009, so Ed would have died about 4 years before this. And if Lorraine had anything to do with this movie, she probably would have told them, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think she did. I don't think she
really had any consulting on this movie. She did on The Conjuring,
and it shows.
Yeah, I think she was actually invited to set and everything, and so was the actual Perrin family. They were invited to set.
Yeah.
And they got to be on set with it and stuff, and she actually consulted and even talked to Vera Farmiga about playing her and everything, and like all that stuff, and maybe do that if you're gonna base it off a true story. Talk to the actual people.
I don't think they talk to these people. I think they are. I feel like they're still alive.
Like the parents.
The parents.
He died.
The kid,
the son
like
died.
the main kid, he died in 2012.
2012.
Yeah. And he was only like 40 something, I think.
I also, the reason, you remember imagery in this movie too is like the trailer and the poster. One of the only cool parts in this movie is the special effects. It's for back then. Yeah. The special effects of the ectoplasm coming out of the medium's mouth in that whole scene. Yeah. And they used the hell out of that in the trailer, in the poster, and movie images because they probably knew that was the only good scene in this movie.
Well, that was based off of old actual photographs that were supposed to be ectoplasm
coming out of people's mouths. Mediums.
But usually it was like tissue paper and like, in like the turn of the 20th century? Yes. Yeah. They... like what
people
century
were
is it?
Obsessed with seances.
Yeah, I mean, it was like that whole spiritualism thing, and people took a lot of pictures of like ghosts, but they were just like long exposures and ectoplasm leaving. They did a lot of that. Anyway, I'm gonna give it. I'm giving it less than 1. It's a half of an eyelid. Fuck. A half of a removed eyelid. Dried, desiccated eyelid.
God, I don't even know. I want to give it like a number rating, but I don't even think I can.
It's hard. Yeah, if I had not, I might give it 1 if I hadn't have read the book. Reading the book, like, it makes me hate it even more. I
might give it a 1. I don't know 1 of what, but I might give it a 1 just for at least Gallner's performance as the son. Yeah. Because he was the only good part of the movie.
That's true.
And he was literally carrying the movie.
Yeah. That's true.
Because even somebody who I would have thought would have been a powerhouse carrying the movie, like Virginia Madsen,
right,
was not doing that.
Not at all.
And I feel like she knew how bad it was and just phoned it in. Super hard. Yeah. I mean, this is what she's doing after a movie like Candyman that like took off and was so famous. Yeah. Come on. Because it's not like she looked bad. Yeah. She was young. She I don't know. It's just the son carried the movie. And that's, I'm going to give it a 1 just for him.
Okay.
Also because he's cute. Fuck it.
I'll validate that. Yeah, I just knowing like the actual air quotes true story.
Air quotes true story.
Yeah, I can't forgive it. I can't forgive this movie.
It's not a good movie.
Absolutely horrendous. Anyway,
so we highly recommend it.
We highly recommend it. I highly recommend the book. In a Dark Place.
In a Dark Place, yes. Which I am actually going to have to get some of these and read them.
You should borrow this one. Read it.
I should borrow this one.
Very good. Next time we'll watch probably a movie that we enjoy. I think after this one, I gotta watch.
We gotta watch a good one that is most likely good.
Yeah, I can't watch another bad one right now.
That one filled up the time of 2 to 3 bad movies.
It really did. It really did. Like and subscribe, comment.
Yes, please
Questions
subscribe,
concerns.
comment. Send us questions. We want to talk more in the beginning of episodes about stuff.
I know.
And we sometimes have a hard time figuring out what to talk about.
That's true.
We could give some personal life info and stuff and what we've been up to, but it's better.
That.
Yeah, it's better if we have some questions. Let us know how we're doing too.
Yeah, and if you're
give us a 5-star right now. I'm just kidding.
If you are a D-list celebrity listening to this and you want to be on the podcast.
If you
please hit us up.
Either Roz Hernandez or Alex LeMay. Just gonna.
Yeah.
Please come on the podcast.
Please come in.
We would love to watch a movie with you and talk about it.
Yeah. And talk about some ghostly experiences.
And talk about your ghost experiences.
Yes. Since
if you are Kathy Griffin.
If you are Kathy Griffin.
My life on the T list.
Give us a call.
Give us a call.
Yeah. I just want to talk to you, honestly.
I just want to talk to you. I just want to talk to you.
Just want to talk to you.
But yes, please like, subscribe, comment, and follow us on Instagram. We are also on Blue Sky. Everything's at Horror Legend Pod. And DM us. Slide in there.
Yeah. So until next time, goodbye. Kisses. I love you.
Good night. Ooh.